All right, everybody, we're going to try it one more time. We lost Twitter in the middle of this, and we can't go without one of our biggest channels. We are lagging so bad. Leroy, I don't think we can go tonight, dude.
Okay, no worries, man.
I can't get this thing to work, and that means I'm gonna have to go and I gotta go down the Apple store and buy a brand new Mac. We tried to fix this with the video, and we bought a new off-board processor.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, and it's the computer isn't working, so it's gonna be like $3,000.
Is it the computer that is like it's overheating, basically?
It's not overheating. It was, but now it's to the process where we're gonna redo the entire studio, and we got to have 4 cameras, and this thing can't support 4. And you can see it's chuggy as absolute shit.
That's in that new unit you just bought?
It's not the thing. It's the computer can't process this amount of data. And I'm trying to get it to catch up, but it's not catching up. I'm just waiting to see if I can get the computer to catch up, essentially.
You let me know what you need me to do.
I just hang tight.
I'm standing by. Yeah.
Well, it's just frustrating because it's already been financially one of the most challenging weeks we've ever had in our lives, and now it's about to get really, really bad. So we're trying to balance a lot right now, and I can't continue to do this and have this happen. We're a half hour, 45 minutes late, but I can't get my video to stop chugging, and essentially just like everything's slow. Like the video, I can't even see it. Like the coffee cup that's coming up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when it shows up. Now. So how long was that?
About 6 seconds.
Yeah, I can't function that way. So I'm trying to think. Yeah, just Shirley, I know you can't see the lag, but I can't do the show if I open up a window and it takes 6 seconds to get a video up. Oh my God, JD, do you think now's the time to rip on me about Max? Oh my God. That's not the time. Not the time, dude. You don't understand what this computer is and what it's doing and how much work it has to do. It's a Windows computer couldn't even do 1/10 of this. It's me overextending what the computer's capable of. Let's see. All right, so Leroy, do me a favor. Just follow me with holding up your finger. 1, 2, 3. All right, now do it no audio, just when you see mine, okay? You're still on 1, by the way, for me.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is the only way to fix this is live, because if I don't see this when it's live, then
Right.
You
don't know how much to offset it by, right? If you can.
That's right. And it's not even that. It's that there should be 0 lag. Like 0. None.
Hmm.
Like it's $1,000 processor. There is just no reason for it to be lagging right now. The only thing I can think of is in my preferences that I'm broadcasting too high of a stream, but my internet connection is 356. I'm rocking 1.5 gigs up or down and 700 gigs up. Or 700 megabytes. There's just no reason for me to be chugging.
Yeah, man. I'm not sure.
You just got to bear with me. That's all this is.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I'm good.
Higher level. Wondering if I disconnect these cameras, but I can't keep doing that. Yeah, we got to figure this out by the 16th. Because I don't know what to do. I need to think.
Take your time. While you're doing that, is my portion of it coming in also laggy?
Yeah. And then that's because, okay, so just to explain everything, I've got 4 cameras. They're all broadcasting in 4K. They're all broadcasting in 256 kbps audio. It's the highest resolution possible. It's all coming into a centralized Mac. It's now distributing it to 7 different channels. I've got 17 windows open with videos open, ready to go. I've got interactive maps ready to go for tonight's show.
Right.
All of these things are not a problem with 2 cameras. When I introduce a third, hold on a second.
Go ahead.
When I introduce a third camera, which is what I've done, and it's this camera right here, which is upside down, but that doesn't mean anything. That's standard. So like when I go into video, this camera right here, and you can see it looks much different. See the lag? Well, maybe you can't.
Yeah.
The whole point is that this camera and this camera are the exact same camera, but they're processing in a completely different way. This is like, I look like I'm sick. I'm blue. And it's chugging so bad that I've got a 10-second delay from what my face does. And when you're doing this, you have to watch yourself. You can't just not do that because it's just impossible. So Leroy is coming in fine. I'm probably coming in fine. The problem is I can't run the show and open a window when it takes 10 seconds for my windows to change. And that's what I'm telling people right now. Go ahead.
I have a list of stories that I can go through if you wanted to mute yourself, and I can just kind of ramble for a little bit if that would help.
Yeah, because we've got a shit ton of people on. I mean, of course, the night that we need donations more than ever. Yeah, folks, listen, if I'm going to ask you to do this, and this is this, if you're going to donate, tonight's the night. Like I literally have to go spend $3,000 on a new computer. And we can't wait till the 16th because we need the computer for the 16th. This is something we just can't do without. And so and it doesn't mean we can't do it without you. If you don't, we're going to do it anyway. But you guys know how crazy this month has been. This has been probably the worst financial month for us, not from an intake standpoint, but from a going out standpoint. Everything just keeps hitting. We've had several friends who've needed help and we've tried to take care of them. It's just, we are just stressed to the hilt right now because of this. So Leroy, if you want to chat, I don't know. You go ahead. I'm going to do what I can, but I don't think anything's going to work here.
No. And like I said, go ahead and mute yourself and I'll just kind of ramble for a little bit. For everyone who watches the show, you do know that I will, before every show, I will go through as many headlines as I can just to see as an analyst, what is it that piques my interest? What are the things that I look for? One of the things that I saw that was really interesting today, and this is right off of the justice.gov news site, is that the largest fentanyl bust in DEA history, authorities had seized over 400 kilograms of fentanyl in a record-shattering operation. So when I was reading that, I thought to myself, I remembered a story from not that long ago where something like they had busted, I want to say it was like 120 pounds worth of fentanyl coming in. And so I went ahead and did the math because they didn't do this on the website. And turns out, and it's something called a ratio. If you take the number that you're looking to acquire, you can find this in something called a ratio. I found out that 880 pounds, which is what 400 kilograms is, of fentanyl is enough to kill 191 million people. And that was in one day's worth of bust. And again, this is a story that just came out today. When you go to justice.gov, and don't leave the site to go, I'll just read it to you. When you go to that website, it does say that when they made the bust, the historic drug seizure led by the DEA is a significant blow against the Sinaloa cartel that removes poison from our streets and protects American citizens from the scourge of fentanyl, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Yeah. The Department of Justice will continue to work with our law enforcement partners to dismantle every cartel network operating illegally in the United States. Again, apparently, along with the bust, they found $610,000 in cash, 49 firearms, some with those automatic switches, and some were ghost guns. Another 1.5 kilograms of cocaine. If you know what the conversion is from kilograms to pounds, I'd love to know what kind of Friday night that was going to have. And then another 3.5 kilograms of heroin and 7 more pounds of methamphetamine. So when we're talking about, think about the last administration. By the way, if you didn't catch Matt's morning show, he had this amazing, about a 5-10 minute long show where he gives comparison to the last administration to this administration, but not in such a way to say this is what Trump has done. It was to say what Trump had not done. And it was this amazing list. If you get a chance, please watch that. It was awesome because it's about 5 minutes of just line after line after line of embarrassing headlines that were pulled out of the last 4 years. It was great. Back to the story. So after they found all of this was apparently in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For those who watched the show, you would know that I was there. Matt was there. I think he lived there for a period of time. I was there visiting, and yeah, there's some shady stuff that happens in Albuquerque. Parts of it are extremely rough, and it would this kind of headline just it should catch everyone off guard, because you wouldn't think that much. I mean, it's bad, right? But then there's bad, and then there's this kind of bad. This is terrible. Anyway, so that was the first headline that caught my eye, and I just thought to myself, about damn time that somebody started getting this crap off the street. The second headline was the potential reopening of Alcatraz. So apparently Trump is pushing to get Alcatraz reopened. I only saw about 30 seconds of the headline for that one, so I don't have a whole lot of information. But apparently the speech was such that he was trying to make it known that Alcatraz should be reserved for the very worst of humanity, the people that are the most dangerous in our country. That's where he wants to send them. So I think there's talk that he wants to revamp, modernize Alcatraz, pour a little money into it, and start sending the worst of the worst to Alcatraz. So at one point it was a museum. And we've all seen the movies, Escape from Alcatraz or The Rock. I have to imagine that this is a new page, potentially, in Alcatraz's odd history as it was. So that was really interesting, if anybody caught that one. And then something that you're not going to see a lot of in the headlines. Excuse me while I rock and get comfortable. China riots. I don't know how many people have been tracking this one, but there's been a string of headlines coming out of the CCP that speak directly to a public that is extremely torqued off right now with their own government. And what has been happening is due to the Trump tariffs, a lot of the workers, actually, a lot of the owners of the factories have been sending workers home. Now, China has something called, and it's going to sound a little kinky and it's not meant to be, it's called nomenclatura. And what that is where the CCP will embed a state representative in every company. And that state representative tells the owner of the company what to make and how much to make of it, who to keep on staff, how much to pay them, that kind of thing. And if anything needs to be done behind the scenes, then what they'll do is go ahead and arrange for that through the state. All right. So after all these workers got sent home with no pay, or maybe they were told, hey, don't come back, or if you do, we'll call you kind of scenario. Enough of them get together. What China does not want is a lot of unemployed countrymen getting together and going on long walks together. Not something that's going to turn out well for the government of China. And now that seems like it's coming to fruition. For anybody who isn't aware of it, these are the same type of financial hardships that were the impetus, the catalyst to the Tiananmen Square that everyone remembers. If anybody remembers the giant tank with one dude standing in front of it with a briefcase, and he refused to move, and that became a worldwide recognized symbol. These are the same types of conditions that could very well lead to another incident like that. And if anybody is, I'm trying to read some of the comments as we go by here. Great job, Leroy. Oh, thank you, Keith. Yeah, what's up, Matt?
I was trying. Watch this. Ready?
Yeah.
Just call it off. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in sync. So what? First of all, finish what you were going to say, and I'm going to kind of back off. You do your thing,
Sure.
and then I'll tell you what happened. Okay, finish up with your thoughts because you're killing it. Keep doing it.
So for anybody who knows their history for the last 30 or so years, Tiananmen Square was caused by a lot of the same type of financial issues within China. And when that happened, basically it was workers who were standing against the party to say, hey, look, we have a problem here, and now we're not backing down. This is what Xi Jinping does not want. This is the type of government, and it's just like this in Russia too, where you get enough torqued off people, somebody might try and take a pot shot at the president's life. And Xi Jinping, being as authoritarian as he is, this could get very bad. And so when you have, again, this is hard to find news. This isn't anything that, and I didn't find this through channels where I've leveraged my credentials. I did not do that. I just happened to know where to look. And it's a lot of .org type sites, and you keep your eye on YouTube, that kind of thing. But if more and more of this kind of thing starts popping off, I think that we could be in for a completely potentially new refacing of Chinese politics. So keep your eye on that corner of the world, folks. And Matt is shaking his.
I'm trying to
creatine?
I'm trying to identify. It is creatine, but I'm trying to identify lag in the photo. The way digital media works is that is that everything behind me is not updating, and that's how you get that depth of field. And the only thing that updates in digital video is the movement. Otherwise, it stays stagnant and it just essentially rebroadcasts the same image over and over and over. And if there's a change of movement, whether it be light or whether it be movement and from the camera's position or anyone in the frame, then it will update the background. You get lag because the image is updating everything in the photo or in the image, and the processor can't keep up. Two things. People are asking, Matt, why do we have 4 cameras? Because we're going to have 4 cameras in less than 36 days. Because as soon as we do the big 16 show, we're building a new set. But if we can't run multiple cameras, then there's no reason to build a new set, because this one's fine because it's 2 people. We're building a 4-person set. We need 4 cameras. But we're also running test is that we've got 3 cameras hooked up now, and LEEROY is a 4th camera. You got to remember, everything comes into me and I rebroadcast it out to you. So his image, although not as crisp and clear as mine, it's still an image that I have to process on my end. So you take the 3 cameras plus him, you have 4. So this is what happened. These 2 cameras are G5's Lumix cameras. They're amazing. This is, thank you, Frank. Keep the faith, brother. We are behind you. You are loved. I thank you, Frankie. This one is still an amazing camera, but it's more of a photo based. And this camera is beautiful. This one up here, which is not on right now, but it's lagging out the computer, which leads me to believe that it's not designed to be a streaming video camera with others, because independently it's working against the other cameras. It's not sending at the same frame rate. So with it coming in, it's slowing down it's slowing down LEEROY, it's slowing down this one, it's slowing down Olivia's. Now it's going at 170 miles an hour. Like, I snap my fingers and it's perfectly in sync. My mouth is perfectly in sync. You saw me dropping this little, it's perfectly in sync. And this is the way it should look. Now the picture isn't great because I got to tune it in because it's still not great, the lighting. But so I am going to do this. I'm sending you this camera tomorrow. So you have it. It's a freaking ungodly camera. It's not going to work with multiple cameras because for some reason, the software, firmware, whatever, maybe I'm going to try to update it. I'm going to change, maybe it's a cable thing, but either way, this camera is gorgeous and it's beautiful. You'll love it. And then I'm going to buy another, this will save us a ton, but it's still, $1,000. I have to buy a new lens and a new camera. And that'll solve the problem. And then I need to test that. And then we should, as long as all 3 cameras are broadcasting with no lag, then this solves the May 16th problem. Troubleshooting, man. Yeah, please do. And you did a great job, by the way. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So Greg Ward had a question. He says, LEEROY, any reevaluation to Trump effect on Canada election? Trump, Jordan Peterson, Kevin O'Leary, among many others, have said that interference changed our election. Give talking points. Greg, I didn't want to let that comment slide, but here's the thing, buddy. I don't know enough about that one to speak on it intelligently, and I don't like talking off the cuff when I haven't researched something. So I hope that's fair.
Can I change this setting? It looks good, but I'm still washed out. LEEROY, are you still talking here?
No.
Do me a favor. Can you touch on, just real quick, India and Pakistan? We're going to talk about that in a minute, and we're getting this short up, but a lot of hotspots going on right now. Houthis just surrendered in Yemen. This is a big thing. We got India and Pakistan. Maybe give him a little history from 1940s, how it was like a second world war inside 2 other world wars when India and Pakistan, their nuclear armistice, and England, and where I've got video of the fighters and everything, but just like kind of give people a rundown. I'm going to work on this just for a few more seconds, and I really appreciate everybody's patience. Sorry, guys. Just quickly, we've had $7,500 just go out the door in the last 3 weeks. So it's just stressful, right? So it's stressful, and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So we're trying to get this show on the 16th advertised, and it's just been, and there's been people who needed some help, and we never want to say no to that, but it just things have put a little stress on us. So we're just trying to figure everything out. And then when this happens, this is life, right? This is, everybody knows this. It's a temporary thing, and when it rains, it pours. It's pouring right now, and we're trying to get it figured out. Okay, so thank you. All right, go ahead.
So, for anybody who's kind of unaware of it, and a lot of the history, I'm going to admit some level of ignorance on, but the gist of it is that the intelligence community has known for many, many years is that India and Pakistan are always at each other's throats. Well, the Guardian just reported about a half an hour ago. They're calling it the Kashmir crisis. A Pakistan official says 2 Indian jets were shot down after an India missile attack. So, are things starting to heat up in all corners of the world? It certainly sounds like it. And then they have several photos with explanations. Local residents and members of the media examine a building that was damaged, so on and so forth. And what you're going to see is these tit for tat type escalations between India and Pakistan. If if one side is going to fire off a missile, chances are by tomorrow 2 more missiles will be fired from the other side, and this will just keep going on and on. Um, they've been at this for the last 80 years, and I don't see this ending anytime soon. So yeah, and let me see if I can't come up with something a little more in depth on that. Here we go. Oh, wait, that's from BBC. Reuters. India strikes Pakistan in aftermath of Kashmir tourist killings. So, again, I have to claim some level of ignorance for those in the know. You know that I get locked up in a room basically all day, and I don't get a lot of exposure to a lot of the headlines that I would like to be able to monitor. You would think that I would, given the amount of information that gets pumped in there, but your attention can only go in so many places at once. But it sounds like I'm going to mispronounce this. Muzaffarabad, Pakistan, New Delhi. Um, India attacked 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistani Kashmir on Wednesday, with at least 3 deaths reported. And Pakistan said it was mounting a response as the worst fighting in years erupted between the long-standing enemies. Armies of the nuclear-armed neighbors exchanged intense shelling and heavy gunfire across their frontier in disputed Kashmir in at least 3 places, police and witnesses told Reuters. So again, it's exactly what I just said. These guys have been at it for years. Um, this is not unlike what you see between the threats between um, Israel and Iran. If there was any 2 countries that hated each other just as much, it would be India and Pakistan. So, for anybody who didn't know that.
I can't hear you.
And then, as I'm reading through some of these comments, Kat says, "Did you know that World War II, 5,000 troops for?" Oh, I think she's responding to someone there.
Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a cable issue. So the cable that I had, yep, it's a cable. Did you see? I don't know if you saw it, but I put that camera back on, immediately started lagging. So it's not. It could be the camera, but I'm assuming it's a cable issue. And it happens. It's the cable's not fast enough to broadcast in 4K. It's probably a lower res cable. I bet you $1 billion I replace it, but I'm sending it to you anyway because we need to purchase a new camera for the new show anyway.
Okay.
So and it's time for, dude, for 4 years you've been rocking an inferior setup, and then I bought you the new one, and that's inferior. You deserve a good lens. You deserve a good camera, and we need to get it done. You cool with that?
Thank you. It would take a whole lot to make this look any better. So
I completely agree. Also, we'll upgrade the pod mic too. So just send me everything back because I'm going to use your kit as if we ever get anyone else. But you need a new kit. So stress is
that's
fine.
fair.
So at least it's working now, and I think we're better. Everybody's good. Matt just did a 360. What do you mean I did a 360? This? Yeah, so yeah, this is the camera over here is upside down, and that doesn't change anything, but I have to rotate. Okay, it doesn't matter. We're happy. Let's rock and roll. Dude, stressful shit, dude. It's just like
Yeah.
this 16th show is a blessing, but it's a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. Let's get into it. What did you cover?
Oh, so I covered that Alcatraz was on the verge of being reopened,
Yep, talked about
that there
that
was
last
a
night.
series of China riots that have not been well televised. It has been mostly muted in the news. And these are riots from their factory workers against the party itself because they haven't been paid. And so that's going to become a big problem. And I compared it to the Tiananmen Square incident from 1989. And then I spoke about the largest fentanyl bust in history that had just happened today. That was on the Department of Justice website, where they seized 880 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill 191 million Americans.
Yeah, we had talked about some stuff, and that's okay. Nothing like cross pollination, because there's a lot of stuff that where we always tend to talk about. And we had a drug bust the other night, and then if you remember when the Coast Guard rerouted traffic lanes, and they hadn't rerouted these in like 20 years. Um, they seized like, oh, I don't know, it's like 2 tons
Yeah.
of illicit drugs. I mean, it's insane. And then we showed videos of the largest bust ever of fentanyl, and they had like 20 pallets full of fentanyl bags. I mean, this stuff is incredible. Um, how does Twitter look? Twitter looks amazing. We have a shit ton of people on. I mean, we're sitting here with 105 on Twitter. People are just spamming on. It's perfect, and thank you. And listen, I appreciate you guys understand the human element of this show. It's not a corporate sponsorship, and everyone looks at it and goes, "Oh, it's so professional, and it's got to be corporate rent." Nope, it's just us, and we get stressed when things don't work. But I think we've narrowed the problem, and it's good that it's not this graphics card. And now we just got to spend a little bit more money, but we'll make it work. Supreme Court allows Trump to implement transgender military ban. I don't know if you've heard this. This is great. I mean, I
I
don't know
did
what you're
see
going to
that.
do for a career anymore. Are you you going to out
I think
process
he'll be
or
okay. I think
yeah?
he'll be okay.
Supreme Court on
You know,
Tuesday
it's
allowed.
it's
Oh,
funny you say that too, because just in the last couple of weekends, I was told that my date is coming up. I'm supposed to get up by next year anyway, and so one of the things that you have to do when you know when that date is. Thank you, Joanne Townsend, for the $10.80. You rock, lady.
thank you,
Um,
Joanne.
one of the things that you have to do about 9 months ahead of time is you have to start applying for all of the retirement stuff. So actually, it's funny you mentioned that because now I do have to retire. I just started doing all that paperwork.
Well, it's going to be a great day when you do. It's I love that you serve, but I can't wait for you to get out. JD, I wasn't grumpy with you, dude. I thought you were talking Trish. There's people who like talk shit about Apple. Like Leroy has seen my setup. The fact that this computer can run what it does, and that it's from 2020 and it's an old Intel processor, it's pretty impressive. No harm, no foul. Sorry if I got pushy and grumpy. Supreme Court on Tuesday allowed President Donald Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military. The justices granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to lift the nationwide injunction. Um, just over 4,000 transgender people currently serve in the military, according to the Defense Department. There are around 2.1 million active service members in total. The problem is the amount of money that these ultimately wind up costing. Um, per person, transgenders in the military are a massive burden on the DoD from a per person average because from hormone blockers to elective surgeries and the ramifications of having botched surgeries, the one thing that the United States has to do is they have to have their people in good working order. And if you have someone who isn't, this can ultimately affect their deployment status and service. Now, transgenders in the military currently were not able to deploy to forward operating bases or any combat roles. But this would ultimately selectively remove transgenders from the service. And listen, I think we need to
I
give
was
them
thinking about this the other
the
day.
same levels of respect that we would give any veteran, and explain that although may be uncomfortable for some, I do believe that it's a hindrance on morale and unit effectiveness. And whether that is acceptable or not is really immaterial. The point is, I believe that these are veterans, and they must be treated with a level of dignity that every other veteran gets. And honestly, since it's a forced retirement, all the VA benefits that they would receive in the military, they should receive out of the military, and with all honors, and whatever we can do to help them transition to a normal life, I think is important. What say you there, Leroy?
I'm close to where you're at on that. I absolutely would agree, and I really don't care that somebody is trans or gay or whatever the case is. If they're willing to take a bullet for the country, then they have my undying, patriotism. Now, where it gets a little more sketchy for me is I envision a scenario where somebody joins the military just so that they can potentially get that surgery. Um, and where it gets a little fuzzy for me is, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that somebody gets said surgery and they end up with more issues because the surgery
Right.
itself isn't really correcting anything except anything that's going on upstairs, right? So if somebody gets their penis removed and it is somehow turned into a vag, um, I remember watching that What is a Woman show, and the poor person that was on there was this young lady who had the surgery, and she held up her arm and showed everyone where the scar was. And apparently, every like 6 months, she has to go and get the hair, the pubic hair, removed after it had grown. So she had described something like 6 inches worth of hair that had grown in rather than out, because it's a cosmetic surgery. It's not the way your body was originally designed. And she made it known that she's dealing with infections all the time. So I was thinking about this. Somebody gets that surgery. It's cosmetic, but they're in the military and they got said surgery while they were in the military. Will they file a disability claim?
Um, yeah, I think that's a
Happen.
really good question.
It could happen.
Well, I'll tell you that I wasn't able to sue the military after what happened to me. So I wasn't able to go back in and hold the military accountable for my accident. And we really sign our rights away.
You do.
And if you don't have it on your out processing, it's really hard for them to change your service jacket and your medical separation once you're out. It really is. Especially for something that's degenerative, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you leave with a hip issue that you sustain in the military, you get disability for 50%. 2 years later, you get necrosis, or you have some sort of calcium deposit or frailty in the hip from the impact, and then you lose your hip, have to have full hip replacement. You don't get bumped to a 75%. And in order to get that, you have to move mountains. So it comes down to this, is that I don't believe transgenders should be in the military. I don't believe women should be in combat. I just don't. And it's from a logistical standpoint, it's from a psychological standpoint, and most importantly, it's a burden on the unit.
Yeah.
Should transgenders be in the military? No. And I hold to the same belief of, should a military be all African American? No. Should a military be all white? No. Do I have a problem with homosexuals in the military? Yeah, I do. because I still believe it's a distraction to the unit.
That's fair.
It's not personal. Do I know some hard chargers who are openly gay? Yes. Do I know some warfare operators who are gay? Yes. I have a very good friend who served on a team who is absolutely 100% out of the closet, and you would never guess it. But do I still believe that homosexuals shouldn't be in the military? Yes, I do. So it's and here's why. The reason why you don't have fraternization from male and female, and you do in the same birthing unit, and now you do. I mean, when we did boot camp, our female, attached battalion was not the battalion. It was the regiment. No, what the hell was what was our squad in it was battalion.
I think you're talking
It's
battalion.
It's battalion. So, but attached to our battalion was females, and we had our HMFIC squad leader go out and sleep with the squad leader of boot camp 286, battalion 286, which was our boot camp number. And then you had the 286 female version, and they had sex in the corridors. So there's a reason why they don't have co-eds on subs and co-eds. They have separate birthing units on vessels and ships. But the reason why is because there is a proclivity for people to have sex. And what happens is women the Navajos get pregnant underway, and it is a nightmare for the command. Same thing happens in Marine Corps, same thing happens in Army. So when you have homosexuals and you have guys with guys, there is 100%, I promise you, has happened in the history of all military branches where there are homosexual couples and they're having sex, whether it's in boot camp or whether it's forward deployed or wherever it would be. It's not good for the unit. It's not good for the military. It sucks. It is what it is, but there it is. Go ahead, Leroy.
It's funny you say that too, because one of the things that when you go through JSOC, when you forward mobilize through there, everyone goes through the same place. It's in one of the Carolinas, and so you're in Fort Bragg, right? And they make it absolutely known, no sex while you're forward mobilized. You will get kicked out. They give you this line of the very worst of the worst, like, don't do it. Everyone is watching. If you do get busted, you're going to lose your clearance and you're going to lose your job, right? So then make that absolutely clear. Then you get actually forward mobilized. You end up in Djibouti, Africa. They have an NEX there. You go to the NEX because you need an energy drink and maybe some beef jerky. You're walking down the aisles, and what do they have on full display? About a 4-foot section of nothing but rubbers. Like, why the mixed messaging? Because they know it's going to happen.
Right.
Because no matter how many times you tell a sailor or a soldier not to do something, they know that it's going to happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it's not like I'm against sex. There's protocols for that. But you know what? What also isn't good? It also isn't good to go into Subic Bay. Subic Bay being closed was a good thing. We had more venereal diseases come out of Subic Bay than any other port in the country, outside of Vietnam, when, during the war. But, there are places where you go into port where you don't want sailors to go because they're going to get rolled. They're going to get VDs. They're going to get drugged and roofied, and they do crazy shit to American sailors and Marines and Army. There's no reason to open this up to something that is more dangerous than it needs to be.
And that's for regular sailors. That's for people who are potentially going out with their buddies. Maybe they get separated, but it could still happen to any 6-foot plus male, regular looking dude with a square cut mustache. That could happen to them. Now throw the transgender issue into it. And just like what we were talking about before, what would happen? Yeah. A transgender person is going to claim, what happens if somebody gets PTSD? Next thing you know, PTSD leads to gender dysphoria. Right. Next thing you know, gender dysphoria leads to a VA claim of 100%. Okay. 100% VA claim is about 60 grand a year. What's 60 grand a year over 25 years? That is $1.5 million that we are now paying that person who probably shouldn't have been in the military anyway. $1.5
Yeah,
million worth of taxpayer money.
it's not hard to understand. And when you take the emotion out of it, the command has a certain amount of people that it requires per job, and they have a quota. They can only bring in so many black non-high school diplomas, so many white, so many Asian American, so many Mexican American, Latin American, so many women, so many ASVAB scores under 50, so many ASVAB scores under over 92. Surprisingly enough, they limit the amount of high-end ASVAB scores that they can actually take in. I scored a 92 on my ASVAB the first time I took it. The second time I took it, I nailed it. I think I got a 98, 99, and I got offered Nuke Tech. And no. And I want to go Intel. And they're like, you're not going to Intel. There's no billets open. You can't do it. So I walked out and came back again. And it took me 3 times to get an Intel billet, and I camped out there. I brought a sleeping bag, and I literally camped right outside of MEPS. And I was up at 0400, and I got out of there at 10, 2200 every single day. And it took me 3 days to get it. And that's what you got to do to get it. But the thing is that when you go in, there are enough distractions to lead you astray and get you into trouble. You don't need any more when it comes to, there's a reason why they put saltpeter in the food in basic, okay? There's a reason why you don't wake up with a boner every single second of the day. Every man in the world at that age wakes up with a boner. Does it really shock anybody that you don't have a boner in boot camp? So there's a reason why. And they suppress the sexual. They put something in the food. They put saltpeter in the food. I guarantee it. And they do that to suppress the sexual urges, but also the homesickness and everything else. Because the last thing you need to be thinking is about wanking your pud when you've been up for 18 hours and you got to be up at 04 or do a balls watch. But it's amazing. Once C school starts, man, those sexual urges certainly come back so quick, don't they? Anyway.
Don't they?
Subic Bay. All right. So what are we saying? We're going to Caesar this. Transgenders in the military. Are we stoked with the Supreme Court? Is this an up or a down?
Am I stoked that the Supreme Court is supporting Trump? Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Makes sense. And I
it's
think
not personal.
No,
it's not
personal. Not personal. I think there's a time and a place, and you can serve your country in many ways. But listen, you're going to get retirement. You're going to be taken care of. It's a forced retirement. It's not reflective of you. It's a policy change. You'll be taken care of. Enjoy it. Have a good day. Thanks for serving your country. Now you get to join the civilian populace and use all those skills in the military that you learned to go ahead and apply in the civil sector and make your riches. Right, Leroy? No.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Right.
Donald Trump just released. Houthis have announced to us, at least they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. Here is
very good news.
Here is the and we're going to walk through this because this is a big one. This is a big topic. Let's listen.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight, and we will honor that, and we will stop the bombings, and they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore, and that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal; it was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis, effective immediately. And Marco, you'll let everybody know that.
Well, that didn't last long, and we know over the weekend that there was a ballistic missile that went in and was aimed for Israel's airport.
Mm-hmm.
And that missile had devastating results. They you know the old saying, moving heaven and earth. In this case, it just moved a lot of earth.
One got through, huh?
Yeah, one got through, and that ground will forever be changed, Leroy. I don't know what to do. At least 20 to 30 earthworms were killed, possibly a groundhog, maybe a marmot, which cute and lovable, but not necessarily that big of a casualty. They aimed this ballistic missile. Here is the video. Just take a look. Let's take a moment and pray. Lord, please protect the rest of the sacred ground of Israel and the dirt. Heron 2, and please protect all the little critters that live in terra firma, that these missiles don't strike Earth in this horribly devastating way. Very sad. Israel is going to figure out how they're going to rebuild. It's a big hole. This is what happened in response.
Damn.
ضرب مصنع اسمنت عمره عيال الحرام ضربوا مصنع اسمنت عمره.
Looks to be a refinery of some sort, probably an oil refinery. You can tell by the dark
tower of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got probably cooling and exhaust there, but if you see before it was hit, looks like some form of refinery. The dark clouds lead you to believe that it's an oil type of burn.
You know, it's funny too, because as we're talking about that kind of thing, we're always talking about Iran versus Israel, or whatever the hell the Houthis have got going on. And it's important for everyone to remember that all of that is related, right? The Houthis are backed by Iran. So the fact that they're capitulating, the fact that they're backing down is probably just another I can see a lot of Iranian officials going, well, now what? Now what do we do? Because we're trying to, right? We're trying to put pressure on the Americans, and now we can't even get the Houthis to do what we want, and they're on our side.
Well, you and I talked about this, that this constant warfare against the proxies of Iran,
right?
Whether it be the JIP or IRGC and Syrian Brotherhood, Islamic Brotherhood, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, it doesn't matter. ISIS-K, which isn't in the region but will be as soon as these vacuums take place. And that's what's happening, is that you're going to see that these proxies are prosecuted with lethality, and Iran is losing face. So when you have these groups that have sworn death to the infidel who are saying, we think we're good, because this is Ben Gurion Airport, this is what it hit, and you can see that's a lot of dirt. That's a lot. That's a lot of dirt to move, and it's so unfair. Look at all this dirt. I mean, who's going to clean all this up? I mean, seriously?
Sweepers.
Look at that hole.
Yeah.
I mean, where do they begin? How do you fill that? I mean, wouldn't it be hilarious if there was like a tree stump there that's been there for like 2,000 years that no one was able to remove, and now it's just gone? And just, thank you. Do it again.
Get him a favor.
Do it again.
Need that done in my yard. Thank you.
Next time, use these coordinates. This is the Prime Minister's house. He has a tree stump he's been wanting.
He'll save me a ton on buying a stump grinder.
That's right. We won't have to use Gazan slaves to do it. Yeah, well done. Well done. Wouldn't it be nice? We talked about the targeting systems and how they're completely degraded. So here's a video of the airport. And this is in western Yemen, where a lot of the Houthis are. Now that's a hot fire, boys and girls. So, needless to say, I think the Houthis are understanding when you F around, you most assuredly find out. Where do you see this going? Like, do we see Iran now make a deal with Trump in regards to nuclear armament? Because they're having conversations. They have an intercontinental ballistic missile. Well, at least from one part of the hemisphere. Scratch that. I don't believe they have. They can't reach the northern hemisphere, South America and North America from Iran, but they do have some short to medium range ballistic missiles. JD Stillwell donating $100 equipment fund, keeping the show going through tough times, deserves your support. JD, thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you so much, JD. That's awesome.
So where do we see this going? Do we see Iran saying, "Listen, we're going to go ahead and give you"?
I see.
Hold on a second. We're going to give you the ability to kind of win one overarching draw, so to speak. So they're going to say, we're going to pull proxies from attacking U.S. vessels. But the second part of that is that we're no longer going to attack Israel and run proxy into Israel, which I don't see happening. And do they pull away from their nuclear program to gain some certainty with their ability to still make money off of oil? And the U.S. allow them to do that? Or does Trump put back these sanctions that worked so well against Iran that Biden lifted up? What are your thoughts?
I think that because Trump has basically shown that he's not unwilling to take action. He is willing to stick it to anybody who is still. There's that famous saying that we've all been saying for the last 3-4 months. Fuck around, find out, right?
Right.
Because he has shown willingness to follow through on that. This is my personal opinion. Take it or leave it. This is just what I see. History says that the bad blood between Iran and everyone else on the planet, it's still going to be there. All they really have to do is wait 3 years, 4 years. I can see them absolutely freezing frame. They're going to put a pause on everything for the next 4 years, maybe try to figure out how to back off and then regroup.
Right.
Refocus some efforts, but in a low key kind of way. And just wait Trump out, because once he's gone, then they'll probably just start right back up again. That's my personal feeling, but
what do you think about Trump trying to create instability in the region and creating some form of overthrow or coup d'etat?
I mean, isn't that what they do to us?
Well, listen, Trump was really close in 2019 before COVID hit, and we had to focus on other things, with creating class warfare inside Iran, dropping cell phones and iPhones with and satellite uplinks so they could get Western media inside Iran, and communication device and paraphernalia, very Cuban Missile Crisis style. And they had groups in Iran who were on the precipice of overthrowing the government, the Shah and the Ayatollah and the clerics. I think that scares Iran more than invasion or more than war and battle. Meeting Allah is not their fear, so to speak. But I think losing power and losing their country is. And if you can remind them very purposefully that if they continue this behavior, the United States will be forced to help liberate Iran. I think that's going to go a lot further than blowing up oil fields or striking with bunker busters and hitting some of their now. Everyone's like, oh, you can't hit their units. They're too far underground. Give me a break. I promise you, you have no idea what we're capable of. Go ahead.
I would never in one sentence say that the United States or that Israel can't hit a thing, because I don't believe that to be true at all.
I don't think
And whether
Israel. I don't think Israel has the bunker busters that can hit these.
no, they might not have the bunker busters, but they sure are ingenuitive.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are
they
sure
are.
resourceful enough
Yes.
that if they can't do it, maybe they might be able to find a way around a problem.
Sabotage is
I
what he's saying, and yes, that's an absolute 100%. And U.S. has people in there. The Jews have, IDF has people in there. Yes, you're right. We can reach those places absolutely with good old fashioned human intelligence and
Yeah. Stuxnet.
spycraft. Yeah, but my point is that from a munition standpoint, people, I don't think you understand what the U.S. capabilities are and some of the things that they can drop from 30,000 feet. And I don't know if you've seen some of the things that they can do. But trust me when I say this, you're not going to go deep enough because there's some form of infrastructure that we will hit that will impact that nuclear facility that'll set them back 10 years. Trust me when I say this. And whether it's seismic or foundational, we'll hit it and we will do damage to it because we won't just hit it once, we'll hit it 50 times. And eventually you will strike pay dirt, so to speak. Here is Matt says that doesn't mean we can't give Israel the bunker busters. They don't have a way to deliver them. That's the problem. Israel's bombing capabilities are very few and far between. So they really rely on the United States for their high altitude bombing. And although Israel does have some delivery systems, they don't have the payloads. And the United States isn't going to give them that technology either. So if you look at Israel's technology, it's a generation and a half behind ours. There's other allies that we give much more state-of-the-art military equipment than Israel. And there's a reason why. Because if Israel is overrun, that is going to turn into enemy's hands. So you don't want to be giving, you want to make it a more stable government. What we should be concerned about is London, England. And with all the Arabic influence, and that's what we need to be concerned about because they have a lot of our technology we share with them. And like Poland being overrun or Germany or England, that is concerning considering the military equipment that they have there is state of the art. I'm not too worried about Israel. You can have the F-16s. Enjoy. And yes, they have F-22s and F-35s. I understand that. I'm aware. But those are not necessarily in the hot spots of Israel. And there's contingencies that we have in place with those units that we don't have to be too concerned about.
It's funny how that's always that's like the thumb on the scale in any region of the world where we want to apply a little bit of pressure, right? Because we just got done doing the same thing with China. The U.S., it was like, I think 2023, might have been late 2023. We sent some F-22s and we set them up in shop in the Philippines within like 600 miles of the Chinese coastline, just so that we could show that, hey, we're here to back Taiwan, and you're not going to gain air superiority over the region should anything happen. And you know what has not happened in a while, like any sort of more bluster. I think they're still advertising a lot, but they're very cautious about where they fly their fighters now.
Well, and I think we need to also remember this. This isn't the Iraq war, right? We're not literally, going into, Baghdad and dropping munitions from high altitude and using Tomahawks 210 miles away. The munitions that we have now versus what we had then are much more lethal, much more accurate, much more deadly. And I think the Yemenis, in particular the Houthis, realize this and are like, okay, you know what? Sure, we took down a few Reaper drones, okay? But we're running 1,500 sorties a day, and we are just obliterating your people. And they're launching hellfires up your vagina every chance we get. And I think the Houthis are just like, you know what? We're going to become the first terrorist organization that says we're good. We're going to pull back from the table. That doesn't happen. These people are usually like, Allah Akbar.
Right.
And they're like, you know what? I think we're good. We're good. Our heart's not in this one. It's like, And the reason why is that, and that literally took like 3 weeks. The United States is a lethal war machine that has spent the last 4 decades figuring out how to kill insurgents in places that have been very difficult. For instance, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Mogadishu, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and many other places of trying to figure out how to kill insurgents effectively. And that is the drone and the MQ-9 and the Hellfire missile and state-of-the-art visual technology to identify high-value targets that deserve to die. And we are good at it.
I have to imagine that the way the last 3 weeks has gone, so I've read no less than 3-4 books on the subject. This is what they teach us in A and C school in the Navy. We've seen movies about this. They make Navy SEAL movies about like where they try to depict these terrorists as absolute fanatics. These are people who are willing to die, then make a compromise on their own philosophy of what it means to take down their American adversaries or Western civilization. And they always get depicted as these just outer fringe fanatics, people who are just willing to give it all. So for them to 3 weeks in back away and go, you know what? Hold on, wait, time. We need a minute. I got to walk this off, right?
Right.
I have to imagine the last 3 weeks,
Yeah.
unadvertised, has been an absolute target range practice for our troops. Like they were probably told at the highest echelons to
full joy. Full
yeah,
joy.
just
Full joy.
go have fun, boys. You
That's
know,
right. Right. Target rich environment. Probability of delivery is 100%. Have a nice day.
right?
You know, I mean,
And then at some point, some terrorist was like, "Holy, we didn't think it was like that." Right?
You fucking killed my goat. My fucking goat.
My goat. What did he do?
I do not
I
care
was
about
just
but,
asking him.
I don't care that you killed my I don't care that you killed my daughter, my wife, but my goat, my fucking goat. You bastard.
Right.
Here's the video. This is great. Watch this. Those are a lot of planes, a lot of fuselages,
Man,
a lot of money. And you attack a civilian airport in Israel and get some dirt, and we literally just obliterate every single plane in your airport and just destroy it. The whole airport's gone. It's off the map.
oh man. Where's Greta Thunberg when you want to get a statement out of her for this?
They tried to sink her boat and she lived. I'm like, damn, was she on one of these planes maybe? Can we just cross our fingers? Look, even the birds are like, fuck this. We're out of here. We're flying north for the winter. We're flying north. We're getting out of here. Look at this.
Damn.
It's just like, and that looks like it was taxiing, honestly. A couple of them look like, so like, it's just like, we don't care. If you want to fuck around, you're going to find out.
Right.
And I'm good with it. I'm here
There's
for
a whole lot of people in the airport right now going, ring, ring. Hello, Mohammed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be late.
He killed my goat.
I'm going to be late.
Killed Fluffy, my goat. Look at this. You don't have an airport anymore.
Going to blow up on the way, and then it blew up without me. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's my goat. You blew up my goat. Here, I'll decipher. Here we go. What did my goat do? I love my goat. Why would you kill my goat? You goat fucker. Oh, well, I'm the goat fucker. You're a goat killer. Who am I going to go home and a goat? She had little horns. Her hooves were polished. I got her to wear a burqa. Yeah. 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 We know. Yep. You are the weakest link. Oh, this guy. Good. And then my other goat. This guy's like.
Is that a Hawaiian camouflage shirt? I love it.
Yeah, that's just sexy, dude. Look at this. They're goat killers. I don't understand. This guy's GQ.
Yeah. That's
They're all
metrosexual right there.
Listen, we told you. Stop screwing around. Stop launching missiles into Israel, right? Stop screwing around with our vessels. You're not going to win. You don't have you don't have any air power. Okay? You have no naval units. We could literally sit 500 miles off your coastline and kill everyone in your country in 72 hours. Western Yemen, sure, you have some integrated air defense systems, but we're going to sit 500 miles away. We have to fly within their radar capabilities, which they don't have any. These people don't seem to understand. You may think that Israel cannot fight 9 different wars at once. They can. We've made them that way. Unless you plan on launching 300,000 men into Israel, you're not taking Israel. So unless you plan on bringing all the Arab states together, which they can't come together because they all kill each other when they don't have Jews to kill, you're going to have to take it with conventional warfare because you don't have unconventional warfare. You don't have biological and you don't have nuclear. You got a lot of people, or you can send in some drones. You can send in all the drones you want. And that's what the Jews did to Iran. They sent in 3 separate drones and hovered over the Shah's house and 2 secure locations and until their integrated air defense system shot them down. And Israel did that for one reason and one reason only. We know where you are. Here's our drones. Next time we kill you. And guess what Iran stopped doing? They stopped fucking directly attacking Israel. They knew, and the Yemenis now know. Egypt knows. Golan Heights knows. Gaza knows. Syria knows. Beirut and Lebanon know. So there's not many left, folks. So
it's a lot like, for all of the watchers, everyone who's watching right now, if you have kids, this is the great analogy. When you tell your kid, don't put your hand on the stove because it's hot, and they don't believe you, they don't listen to you, and they continue to do it, and you're like, I'm telling you, you're going to get burned.
Stop doing it.
Right? After the 900th time of you telling them don't do it, eventually you just kind of like, fuck it, go ahead, do it.
Right. Touch the stove.
You're going to get burned, but
we'll turn it on for you. Do you know what's exciting? Is Deanna Lorraine. So she had me on her show a couple times. She's one of Stu Peters' network friends, and she's a nice lady. I don't have a problem with her. But she kept spelling my name wrong, Spears. And I'm like, finally, I was just like, listen, can you stop spelling my name wrong when I come on your show? And then she wanted to talk about Princess Diana and the royalty. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this. So she stopped having me on, and that's okay. But the fact that she's at 271 and we're at 171 on Twitter, that's pretty exciting. So, folks, I would really love it if we continue to grow and pass Deanna, because that would make my day. Go Israel.
By all means.
We'll be right back.
May 16th, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. One night only. The DUM Show is hosting a night built on something real. No filters, no corporate sponsors, no gatekeepers. It started with a simple offer. A longtime supporter asked what it would take to build a real studio. A place where conversations stay honest, not bought and sold. He didn't just ask. He promised to match every dollar donated that night up to $10,000. The call went out and the right people answered. Chris Tonto Peronto, Benghazi hero who fought through the night when leadership abandoned them. Roseanne Barr, the voice Hollywood tried to erase but never could. Laura Logan, the journalist who exposed corruption and never blinked. They're not coming for a paycheck. They're coming because the fight for truth is still worth showing up for. And they're joined by T.S. Dixon, Damani Felder, Barry Morgenstein, Lisa Regina, Ryan Samuels, and Jason Shepard. One night, one shot to show that real voices still matter. Follow along at The DUM Show and get all the details at thedumshow.com. The race to 20K starts now. Be part of it.
So India and Pakistan, listen, there's rumors right now that Pakistan is saying that they shot out the sky 2 Indian aircraft. We could go into the weapon systems for India and Pakistan. A lot of them are obsolete and older weapon systems from African wars, World War II. They do have some modern technology, but overall, they are both a nuclear power, and this is the issue.
That's the problem.
This is the problem. So India and Pakistan, as far as their armaments, they can kill each other all day long, and they did it for 60 years. But around 2002, 2000, we saw a treaty. India used to pop off frickin' nuclears in the Indian Ocean like they were going out of style. I mean, it looked like, you know, Fat Man and Fat Boy and Little Boy and all that bullshit in New Mexico. They were just literally doing above ground testing of weapons. And finally, the United States had to jump in and say, hey, around 1995, at 97, stop. And either stop or we're going to stop you. You can't be doing this. This isn't a good idea. And India and Pakistan kind of had a ceasefire, and now they're back at it. And supposedly, India went across lines into Pakistan and launched a series of airstrikes on terrorist groups and terrorist camps. And supposedly, Pakistan shot down 2 fighters. I don't have any confirmation that that's true. Every video that I've seen of it has been fake. For example, here is a video that I decided to save for you, and it looks very convincing. The only problem is I showed this on our channel, and it's so funny. I'm annualizing myself now, Leroy. So when I see videos from 2 years ago, I'm like, I played that on my show. This is bullshit. It says India in the top corner, and this is Israel, folks. But first of all, you can tell by the buildings. Buildings do not look like this in Pakistan. I'm just letting you know. That's not in any way, shape, or form. You can see the Greek influence, and that can go back all the way back to the Philistines and the Judeans. Very white with dark roofs. This is very Greek. And Israel has a very, very large influence of the Greek settlers in its place. Pakistan is not. It has more of a Middle Eastern culture and Chinese influence on it, and this is not. This is Israel. So these are the drone strikes and intercontinental ballistic missiles about a year ago, well, about 9 months ago, that they launched in, that 250 some odd incoming blips that went in. That's what this is from. So there's no confirmation. Pakistan is state-run media, and they are going to BS and bullshit their way through most of this, and we don't know what's going to happen. So your thoughts on this, Leroy, as far as hotspots around the world? Is this going to be the next big concern for us? Is it going to be India and Pakistan? Do we have to watch out for this? Because this is 100 years in the making.
You know, honestly, everyone seems to have their eyes currently trained on China, Taiwan, and I have been very critical of that.
Yeah.
This one honestly caught me like I wasn't expecting this. And I can see this becoming more of an issue in the next 2 to 3 months than China, Taiwan has been for the last 4 or 5 years. Like,
I agree with you.
I could see this escalating very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, and because it's already there. The hatred for these two countries is absolutely immense, and it's not going to change anytime soon. And this isn't going to help. And Pakistan's incapability of truly doing something to retaliate is going to be their frustration. So what they usually do is build up on their border, and India builds up on their border.
Did I get disconnected?
No, your camera's frozen, but you're still here. I can hear you. Hello? He got disconnected. But anyway, usually what happens is there's a buildup on the Indian and Pakistan border. They'll put, and Kashmir gets involved, and there's a couple 100,000 troops, and they fire barrages at each other and indiscriminately kill each other from afar. I was just talking about along the Kashmir border around India and Pakistan, where they will build up on each side and use artillery, mortars, long-range artillery to ultimately fire at each other and kill each other indiscriminately. And nobody has the full commitment to invade each other's country. This is what happened for decades in India and Pakistan, and more than likely we're going to find the armistice will fail, and the treaty will fail, and they will be back at killing each other along their borders.
Completely agree. I see this as one of those types of escalations that we would wish wouldn't happen, but there's also not a lot we can do about it.
Yeah, real quick, somebody keeps saying that I think it's Glenn, that the voice, this...
The DUM show is built on real...
says that's AI. It's not AI. Yeah. So his name is Chris Datson, and he's in England, and he is a radio DJ, and he's a very popular voice announcer, and he does all the voiceover work for the Dumb Show. It's not AI, it's real.
Join wimken.com, the social media
Same
platform built for free speech and true connection.
So he can do the English when he wants to, and then he can do this straight up.
The Dumb Store is veteran-owned with a 5-star.
Same guy. So he's doing English there, and then
May 16th, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. One night only.
I told him, I said, English is fine here. And then
Conversations, raw, unfiltered,
English.
and fearless.
same guy. It's not AI sounding. It's radio.
I love that guy.
Yeah, if you listen to Q105 or 96.5 KLOS or whatever, it's radio. It's radio DJ. It's like 96.5 KLOS, and we are coming out of the blah blah blah.
Yes,
that's what it is. He's a radio DJ.
classic radio voice. I love it.
Yeah, it's not AI sounding at all. It's So take your disrespect for Mr. Datson and show some, slap some respect on that, please. NPR and PBS defunded. Now, we all like PBS because it's Sesame Street and Neil Tyson deGrasse, and it's great. It's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with the public.
Nova's fantastic. Right.
Right. The Ken Burns Civil War, after Discovery had it, or History Channel had it for 20 years, and then they decided to go ahead and throw PBS a bone. It does not sound like an AI program. Leave him alone. Hey, Thomas Austin, thanks.
Thank you, Thomas Austin, with $51.99. Thomas, you demand.
We need it, buddy. We need it. It's been a night. You can't be real. Yeah, well, yeah. So anyway, it's not AI. I pay top dollar. I mean, right here in the 6 quadrants is like $500 in radio spots. It's not AI. I would never use AI on this show. You know what is AI? The Red Friday commercial. That's guy's AI. And no one's ever said that sounds like AI. That's AI. But I hate that when you're watching an Instagram video and they're like, do you want to know what tuna tastes like? Well, then you should get it. I can't stand that fucking AI voice. It drives me crazy. Ted Cruz, listen, freedom of the press. It's a guaranteed, right? It's guaranteed.
Supposed to be.
Institution, fourth estate, freedom of the press. Most important thing we got, right? That's what they all say, right? Fourth estate,
Sure.
Supposed to go ahead and check checks and balances, ensure that the other 3 branches of government are doing their job. Freedom of the press is absolutely essential. But you know what? I've read the Constitution backwards and forwards a couple million times, and I have never seen anything that the government is responsible for paying for the free press through your taxes. Since when is the citizenry supposed to pay for the media? That's not anything in the Constitution. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, but I wish it would, because then you could make the legal case that because the Second Amendment is a protected constitutional right, that the government has to give everyone a gun.
Well, that would be an
Same
interesting
thing, right?
That'd be an interesting point. I really haven't went there, but I don't understand why the U.S. government has to pay for PBS. Has
don't.
Sesame Street not been around long enough to make their own fucking money? Hold a fundraiser, right? I mean, seriously,
Right.
once a month, 24 hours, do a fundraiser. How would that not work? Or have private companies come in and invest, or sell some advertising. But you don't need to be funded by U.S. taxpayer. Here's Ted Cruz. We're going to dive more into Pakistan and India and Israel and everything, do some live interactive map watching and get an idea of what's going on. But here's Ted Cruz, and he had something to say in regards to NPR. He's not very happy with them.
Would note the ranking member had some comments on the defunding of NPR. And as some might say, there is the rest of the story. The Communications Act requires public media entities like NPR to strictly adhere to, quote, objectivity and balance in all programs or series of programs on a controversial nature. Unfortunately, NPR does not. Last Congress, I put out a detailed report how NPR took millions in earmarked donations from left-wing mega donors for very specific coverage. After receiving those donations, NPR churned out content precisely mirroring its donors' agendas. Likewise, the congressionally chartered independent television service paid for documentaries like, quote, racist trees to appear on PBS. NPR CEO Catherine Marr continues to deny that NPR has a story selection problem, even when senior editors are resigning because the bias is so overwhelming. Yet NPR continues to have a dedicated news desk for climate and for race, both of which are propped up by liberal mega donors. This is the same woman who in January 2020, months before the death of George Floyd, tweeted, quote, "Yes, the North. Yes, all of us. Yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day." I think it's more than time for some accountability at NPR.
Not bad. I think he could go a little further. Once
agree.
again, we all have wonderful feelings and memories of PBS. Sesame Street, like we talked about, Nova. But there's reasons. Their coverage is no longer about, and NPR is the same way. It's no longer about education.
No,
It's
no,
marginalization.
that's about an agenda, and that's
Right.
not. It's not like they've been trying to keep that quiet. For anybody who listens to AM radio still, that's normally where a lot of that gets aired. Um, they love to publish anti-Trump stories,
Oh yeah.
and because that is being funded by the public, by the taxpayers. I mean, you got to figure he won the popular vote, which means not more than half the country, but we'll say a pretty good, a very high percentage, right, of people voted for Trump. So to turn on the radio and then be told why he's terrible,
Right.
and you paid for that out of your own tax dollars, you should be upset. I'm glad that they're defunding this kind of thing. I love the positive programs that PBS used to put out, like we were talking about, Nova, Sesame Street. But you can't choose political sides with taxpayer money. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is it's the programming is no longer the positive. It's elitism, it's marginalization, it's pushing
Right.
left-wing talking points. Sesame Street is all about asking questions like, "Geez, Mr. Snuffleupagus, why do you have such big eyelashes?" "Well, that's because I'm Mrs. Snuffleupagus now." And you're just
Can I
like,
how I like?
right. Big Bird, you've got some pretty feathers. What can you do with that beak? So 4748, Deborah Boggs, towards the new computer. God
Thank
bless.
you,
It's going to go to new camera because that's what we're going to listen. We appreciate you. We love you guys. Everything goes back into the show. That's how it works. But NPR is the same way. They broadcast anti-American sentiment. Has anyone had a chance to read Military Times?
Not in the last couple of days, but sometimes I do.
Have you seen how effing biased they are?
Yeah, you can pick it out. You can absolutely pick it out.
Dude, every article is like fucking it's so lefty. And the Marine Corps Times is the same way. Like, this is where Donald Trump needs to get into this, because I read them. Curtis Lawhorn is 4648. Great show as always. Hope this helps. Love your sarcasm. Thanks,
Thank you,
Curtis. We love you
Curtis.
too, buddy. So
No,
but
I
all
mean,
those
we were
medias,
just
they're
talking
horrible, dude.
We were just talking about transgenderism. When that story aired in any of the Military Times, the Air Force Times, Navy Times, they put an absolute negative spin on it.
Yeah.
They made it known that this was not something that they were happy with. The
It's
people
so
that write those
anti-Trump.
stories.
Yeah. It's so anti-Trump. Somebody said that their kid's doing a report on the F-117 Nighthawk. And they said, "I wish Matt and Leroy were here." We're right here. What do you want to know about that flying gas can piece of shit? The most unstable aircraft outside of the AV-8B Harrier, which is English, by the way. Or the F-111, which is also English and influenced.
Right.
Or the
I
F-1
think
Tornado.
The F-117, the only one that ever went down, had Steven Seagal in it, and it was
That's such
trying to
bullshit.
link up with an airliner.
747.
It's amazing.
The docking column wasn't sealed. because somebody got itchy, and Steven Seagal risked his life and got his entire team. And his last words
Were
"Yeah, but you will.
God, I
You're not
dislike
gonna
him so
make
much.
it. Yeah, but you will."
I'm glad he died.
No.
Dude, I'm so glad he died.
Oh, dude, when he was out, him and his freaking manufacturer, did that guy? I would like. If people always ask me, who would you want to fight? I would want to fight Steven Seagal.
Oh my
Not
God,
Steve,
yes.
not Steven Seagal when he was 26, because he was never a martial artist. He was a guap with a lot of mafia connections who got his ass pushed into movies. I'm not saying that he can't do Hapkido. I'm not saying that he doesn't have talent. That's not my point. My point is, if you try that kung fu feng shui dip fam do on me, I'm gonna punch your lights out. We are doing Google death to research the project on the F-117. Here's what you need to know about the F-117. Radar absorbent material made it a fantastic aircraft with an internal combustion engine, which was cloaked from heat, an IR signature. Its rear fins were put on not because it looked cool, but because literally it was such a piece of shit flying in the air that they had to make some oblong one single fin stabilizer and then a Y-axis stabilizer that was also on the YF-16. If you watch the first original YF-16, which its wings were too low profile, so therefore they put it on there on the YF-16, which is the prototype. They used that fin column for the F-117 because even after they tried to fix everything, it was still one of the most unstable flying pieces of shit in the world.
True.
It did wonderful things. It was hard to see. Its overall payload was shit because it could hardly manage its own fuselage versus any type of major payload. But it did wonderful reconnaissance. It could get in and out of spots. It could identify IAD systems and mark targets of opportunity for higher altitude bombing. And it could also do some severe infrastructure damage with nominal payloads. It was an amazing design.
Remember, it wasn't a fighter; it was a bomber.
Was a bomber.
And you know what's interesting? When I was a little kid, I lived in Euclid, Ohio, and my bestie who lived down the street, we were 10, 11, 12, all the way through, teenage years. And I remember we were watching Firefox one day. He's like, "You got to come over and watch this movie. It's so awesome. It's about this aircraft that when you think it fires the missiles." And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be so good."
Gant, can you fly that plane? Can you Willie fly it?
Yeah, I can fly it.
Tell me that wasn't good, dude. Gant,
it was
can
amazing.
you fly? Dude, I'm gonna do it again. Gant, can you fly that plane? Can you Willie fly it? Tell me that's not perfect.
So, and he was a huge aircraft nut.
Love you, buddy.
Something that I always thought was fascinating. This is the most amazing story. He had an older brother. His older brother was in his mid-20s. His older brother was stationed in Nevada. And all he was ever told was, "Hey, we're working on a new airplane that is a lot like that. Radar can't see it." And this was back in the mid-80s, folks. So come to find out years later that Matt Medvey, by the way, that was his name, Matthew Medvey. It was his big brother. And turns out he was a mechanic on the F-117 projects. Kind of cool. Well before they were ever even introduced to the public.
So, yep, I'm aware there's several F-117s back in service. Still a flying piece of shit. They still haven't fixed the aerodynamic issue, and they haven't fixed the propulsion to weight distribution ratio, essentially, which would make that thing on a pinhead look like this, because there's no stabilization. Now, the interesting thing that you mentioned, Firefox, Craig Thomas, who is the author of the Firefox book series, who was a Welsh author. I get to meet him.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
So there is a photo opportunity of, do you remember what color the suits were of the Russian, the Firefox 2 that was hunting Clint Eastwood? Remember what his
white.
color? That's correct. And the black and white symmetry was in there purposely. Well, Craig Thomas told them to do that in the movies. I get to sit down and talk to him, and it was, oh God, it was I don't even know what year. I was a young kid. Like I couldn't have been older than 10. But anyway, so and then of course the Russians were wearing black.
Right.
And as most of their MiG pilots did, but we never wore white. But anyway, so if you look, the Russian is, and it was essentially to signify and be black and white symmetry with chess is what they were trying to make it. It was so a chess, right? So there is a standee of Clint Eastwood, all in a G suit, oxygen and pressurized suit with his helmet on, you know, and you can see his face in there, and it's got the Russian star on it, and he's standing like, you know, like this sideways.
Yeah.
And then there's another version of Clint Eastwood, and he's in the white suit with the USA, and that was the standee for the book and the movie. So my mother ran B. Dalton Bookseller, and B. Dalton, she was just a store manager in Oxnard, California, in the Esplanade Mall. But the one thing that she was a great retailer. My mom's a lot of things, and I did very rarely do I say anything nice about her, but she was an amazing retailer, and people loved working for her. But she was always inspired by Macy's. So when she got B. Dalton, when a book came out that was huge, and whether it would be, you know, some Shel Silverstein book, or something would come out from Ken Burns, or something would come out from Tom Clancy, or in this case, Craig Thomas, she would do windows in that theme. So for Firefox, my father was working on an SR-71 model, because my father did models. So he had he had a SR-71, he had a U-2 spy plane, and they were all flat black Skunk Works.
Right.
And had an X1 Bell that was in the orange and with the aluminum, you know, bright brushed aluminum cockpit. And anyway, so she did these diorama of mountains and snow and put this SR-71 going through it. It looked like Firefox, and then put the book Firefox and made this great window display. Well, Craig Thomas saw this in England. He got a photo of it. Now, can you imagine? There's no social media back then. Internet doesn't even really exist.
No.
Email. And he got wind of this, and he visited Oxnard and the Esplanade, and we were going to go see Firefox that weekend. And my mom was like, well, it just so happens that Craig Thomas, the author of the book, is coming to B. Dalton, and you get to go meet him. So I went in there, and he's sitting there, and he's signing the books, and he's wearing a command cap of the Royal Air Force, and he signed my book, and I started asking him questions. I said, listen, I don't understand the downward dips of the wings on the Firefox. What does that signify? Wouldn't that create drag coefficient? Should it be up? I'm asking this guy questions about.
He's like, I wrote a book, kid. Get out of here.
Because I love planes, right? And I'm like the afterburners on that fighter. Wouldn't that make that thing almost like a bomber instead? And wouldn't that make it really hard for it to turn because they were so far apart as far as thrust? And in my and I'm like, and the G's, there's one point where the fight,
oh yeah. When you're watching the movie, there's this scene in the movie where Clint Eastwood first gets a hold of the thing, and he's getting ready to fly through the Ural Mountains. And as he's flying, he's like, all right, let's see what this thing can do. And he throws the stick forward, and next thing you know, you see from his perspective in the cockpit, but everything is also reflected. And he's doing these ins and outs through the mountains. And you're like, at that speed, the G-force would have crushed him.
And his reaction time is impossible, even with a supercomputer helping him. There's just no way.
But the thing that I enjoyed about it, even though it's impossible, was that as you're seeing what he's seeing, like in his screen, with everything is just being, as he's turning, he's got this grin that is just like, this is the best day ever. And that's exactly how I feel like it would have happened.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, it's go ahead.
Judy St. Vincent says, no way you grew up in Euclid, Ohio, or Euclid, Leroy. My parents graduated from Euclid High School. Do you know Adam Kozalski? From Debbie from Rumble. I don't know that name. I apologize. Yeah. But I did go to Euclid High School.
So Karen says 1982, Matt, Firefox was in theaters. Yeah, that's about right. I was like 8, and I remember it. But you have to understand, I was an avid purveyor and studier of aviation. It's one of the reasons I went into Intel, just like Leroy. I loved planes. I used to go to Oxnard and Port Hueneme. I'd ride my bike from Ventura.
Same.
12 miles. I would ride my bike and I would go and sit down in Point Magoo and Port Hueneme, and I'd watch the rockets take off, and I'd watch the A4 Skyhawks take off, and I'd watch, and then I'd see the
Van Halen, man, dreams. That's all you need right there.
The F4 Phantoms would come in. I would watch those, and you'd see the A10 occasionally, and I used to love it. And then you would see the big, just every type of ACs come in, and it was just, I loved it, and I loved planes my entire life. And then we would go up to Vandenberg and watch the SR-71 pop out of there every once in a while. So we would go there, and we outside of Palmdale, and we would camp. And then all of a sudden, man, you hear a, and you're like, oh, that's the SR-71. And then you wouldn't see the plane. You would literally just see the exhaust from the propulsion system that would literally have lines in it just from the sheer amount of force going through the turbine. And you would go, that's an SR-71, and that thing would pop off, man, and it would hit like, I mean, it was going from 0 to like 400 in a matter of nothing. And then that thing's going vertical and it's gone. And then all of a sudden you hear, and you get the sonic booms. That was fun.
Real quick, Roxanne Ekman says, Firefox, it was a MiG. Yes, it was, Roxanne. It was a MiG-31, which in actuality, the real MiG-31 is called the Foxhound, which was a take two on another MiG-25 called the Foxbat. And both of those were designed to catch and intercept the SR-71. So little aviation history for you there.
Little did they know that they were a few thousand miles an hour shy of being able to catch that thing. You're certainly not going to catch it out. I mean, that top speed of that thing was like 1,900 miles an hour. You're not going to catch the SR-71. Now, you might be able to catch it at nape of the earth, but you're not going to. And the SR-71 is not going to be flying at that altitude for very long. So, if you want to catch the SR-71, your best chance is a surface-to-air missile. You're not. They still don't have things that can catch the U-2 and the SR-71 that are man-made. You just can't get to that altitude. My brother was in Port Hueneme. We used to watch Port Hueneme would send off rockets all the time. So would Point Magoo. And they would light up the sky. You imagine a California sunset, giant red ball in the sky. Everything's red. It's the pink moment. And then you have a missile, and you just get this giant, beautiful contrail. Oh, it was gorgeous. Yeah, I love. You haven't had a chance to hear the sonic boom. I've heard the sonic boom. Well, first of all, when you're in California, you hear the sonic boom all the time. You do, because they're constantly flying out there, especially when you're close to Lancaster and Palmdale. But I got to hear when they would come in over the flight path for the Challenger, and they would come into White Sands, and we were right over the flight path. So we would get boomed in Van Nuys and in Palmdale when it would re-enter the atmosphere, and you would hear the, and just everything shook. Yeah. We would get those all the time, but we would get the SR-71 going supersonic, and then there was we'd always hear the SR-71, and then the F4 Phantoms too. They would come out of Oxnard and come out of Port Hueneme, and they would just open up full afterburners. And there is nothing like an F4 Phantom going the speed of sound. I mean, that son of a bitch, it is one of the best sounding speed of sound vehicles ever.
I have met two SR-71 pilots, and by far and above, the most interesting story that I ever had was when I met Brian Schul at the Cleveland Air Show. He was peddling books of the photographs that he had taken over the years. He was known as the lead sled photographer. And back when I met him, and you can't miss Brian, he passed away in 2023, but Brian Schul, he had scars all over his face as he was involved in a plane crash in Vietnam. And I remember him giving these stories of how literally cherry Kool-Aid was the only thing he could keep down. And he was within like a few pounds on his body of dying. And then he gets out of the hospital. He's, obviously disfigured. And what did he do? He went and applied to become an SR-71 pilot and got in, and just loved every day beyond that. And he's the guy that tells the most famous story in SR-71 history, lore, right? And it was called the speed check story. After the show, if you have time, check that out. It's a hilarious story about this how the ground operators of over airports, they talk to every pilot as if they're like Air Force One. And so oftentimes they will check, especially in lower class aircraft that maybe don't have the instrumentation that some others do. They will say, "Hey, do you have a ground check for me?" And so this Cessna comes on. He's like, "Hey, I need a ground check." And turns out it was like 80 knots, whatever it was. And then this twin Bonanza comes on and says, "Hey, can I get one of those too? And give me a ground check." And it was like 120 knots. And turns out there was an F-18 in the area. And I don't know why he needed it, because his speed is displayed for him right there in that HUD, but he wanted everyone to know how fast he was going on the radio. And so that's when this SR-71 who was in the area said, "Hey, this is," whatever the call sign was, "we need a ground check." And the operator says, "We show you at 1900 knots." Whatever the proper terminology was. And then the backseat operator of the SR-71 says, "I'm showing closer to 2000," which was just hilarious. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, Beefy says Beefy's like, I don't have an issue with the video. That's because we take it seriously. And unfortunately, the podcast has obviously does very, very well, but the video is what sets us apart from most podcasts. Most people don't take it seriously. We do. And, if I had producers and I had sound guys and audio guys, this wouldn't be a problem for me. I would come in here, I'd sit down and I'd leave. And if it wasn't right, I'd fire them. But I'm the guy. So I understand your hesitancy not to care. And the reason why you probably don't care is because we make it seamless. And if it wasn't seamless, I think you probably would care. But when you say half of our audience doesn't care about the video, I completely disagree. I see the watch times and the interaction that people have with the show. To see our faces, our mannerisms, and how we convey a message is important, because sometimes our voices doesn't do that very well in our inflection. So I respect your opinion, but I'm going to continue to put an A-quality product out from audio and video perspective, because the last time I watched a movie, I never closed my eyes. And the last time I watched a movie, I never covered my ears. It's 50% of the experience. So we're going to continue to make it so. And this video that we have right now is fantastic. Leroy looks good. I look good. And that's important to us. But we always want to get better. But a lot of people say, well, you're only running 2 cameras right now. We're not. We're actually running 3 cameras plus Leroy. So just because Olivia's not here and this camera's not on doesn't mean it's not running. And we have to do that because at any time we can cut in. Well, when we get the new system, we don't want to be unplugging cameras. And then when they are plugged in, if they don't work, that's a big problem, right? Because last night Olivia was on and I was on. If we have a guest on, we crash. So we know what to do. It's this camera. This camera is completely slowing it down. I'm going to try to fix it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we get a new one. All right, moving on. So this is the Firefox, and there's so many unconventional things about this from an aerodynamic standpoint that the neck of this fuselage would snap off going at those speeds. Right. The profile of the wing sweep is just it's ridiculous, but it's so sexy. And honestly, and even though the MiG-31 Foxhound is the closest thing to this, it looks nothing like it. The Foxhound, the Foxhound is it, and this is what is considered to be the closest thing to the Firefox is the MiG-31. But the Foxhound honestly looks like a dual-finned F1 Tornado more than it looks like a Firefox. But it's still,
it's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
That Firefox, if you look at the very bottom photo, it looks like the wingtips are tilted down just a little bit. Now, the interesting piece about that is that in real life, there was an aircraft that was made that did that.
Yep.
And it was the XB-70. We have it down here at the museum at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. And at speed, the aircraft was designed so that the wingtips would drop down first at 15 degrees and then all the way down to 30 degrees. And it did so because at speed it would ride on its own shockwave. They found out that helped the aircraft save fuel by riding on a compressed air bubble underneath it. So it's funny that the people, when they were mocking this thing up, right? These movie producers who were probably just trying to pick out what a sexy design might look like, and they actually got something like this right by accident.
Yeah, and this is right around the time of the B-1B Lancer. So the B-1B, which is also something that crashed an awful lot, you can take a look at the front fuselage and the way that it's built. A lot of it was the aerodynamic issues that the B-1B had, especially on landing when it lost its pocket and it would come in without a lot of thrust. It tended to crash. But you can see the similarities between that. But if you look at the XB-70, which is absolutely right, it was a Concorde ripoff as well. And it was a nuclear deliverant device, and it was 1967, I believe, is when it came out. But if you look at the Concorde, which is still in use today, which is the downswept nose, is also very similar to what Leroy's talking about. See the downswept nose there? And the fuselage kind of leans back, and it's actually an arc. So the fuselage from its top point of its nose is lower than its back fin, which is
beautiful.
Which is it's an amazing thing. But it also has the front nose column. So Firefox is basically built off the B-1B, the XB-70, and probably the SR-71, and it gives you this amalgamation of aircraft, which probably would fly like a brick, but looked really fucking cool because it looked like a Klingon warship more than an aircraft. It was amazing. Yeah, did you see the new high quality pics of China's new bird? Yeah, the one they're claiming is the 5th generation and a 6th generation, but it's really a 3rd generation with some very pretty wing swept. Yeah, no, I'm not impressed.
Are you talking about the Mighty Dragon?
Yeah, this is Scotty Bix is talking about. I had it on the show. You and I both did. Don't you remember? We got to see some flight of it.
The J, what do they call it? The J.
It's J36, I think. It's a J36 and the J50, I think.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the.
Oh yes.
It's an F-117.
I have seen that.
That turn radius on that piece of shit is going to be horrendous. And then the J50.
I don't think that's a fighter at all, by the way.
I don't think so. Here's the J50. These are mock-ups, guys. These are flying drones. This is not. These aren't 6th generational fighters. This is. I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
I'll tell you exactly what that is if you really want to know. That is a one-off that China is experimenting with. Right, they're trying to gain some ground technologically speaking, so they'll build a one-off, take it up, see how it performs, run a whole bunch of testing and data and gathering, and then what they're going to do is evolve the design from there. That's not something that's going into production though.
Yeah, Scotty, I know you didn't say it was impressive, but simply by disclosure, if it's a 6th generational fighter, that would be impressive. A 5th generational fighter is impressive. So just by mentioning it, that China has this new fighter, it comes with the contents of the conversation, not necessarily because you said so. Yeah, I've seen the new pictures too. I've seen the new video too. I'm just showing you what the bases are. No, China doesn't have the technology. Okay, 6th generation and 5th generation isn't the fuselage. It's aeronautics. It's overall speed predominantly. It's technology inside. It's flight assist. It's its ability to do terminal pop-up. There are so many different reasons and values to make a 5th and 6th generation fighter that China just simply doesn't have the technology. A lot of it is just hypothetical technology, to be completely honest with you. So when they're claiming that this is a 6th and 5th generation fighter, no, it's not. So
it's funny you say that. The Su-57.
Yep,
which is what. Okay. So the claim that is attached to that it is of a specific generation for Russia. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Here is okay. So first of all, let me tell you how I know this Chinese fighter is a bunch of bullshit. Okay, this is not AI. This is a real image. It's confirmed. I want you just first of all, here it is. that's great. You're not flying that
That's
low.
awesome.
You're flying that low so everyone can see it.
Right.
And that's how you know it's not a 6th generational fighter. So they've got plenty of different videos on this thing. A lot of these are simply, like he said, they're in production. They've been made before. A lot of them are copy arts. You can take a look here at the F-45 and the progression. China is regressing to technology that we've already discovered and played with because it looks cool. The F-50 and the F-36, are these low profile? Sure. Are they going to be hard to spot on radar? Yes, but they're going to struggle from the same thing that the F-117 did.
Yep.
And
No handling characteristics whatsoever.
Right.
They're unstable. That's going to be a nightmare to handle. So one of the things that China lacks in to begin with is giving their pilots enough time behind the stick to get them well trained to begin with.
Right.
You couple that with an already unstable platform. That's not a winning combination. That's going to be, you're sending pilots up that are lacking in training in a potentially shaky platform. That's not a good combo.
And I want to listen. I want to see it. I want to see it with armaments. Okay, I want to see that thing flying supersonic. I want to see that thing. I want to see that thing pulling, 12 to 15 Gs on the body, and having the pilot pull less than 6. So until you do that, I don't care. I don't care. So you can have the most unrecognizable radar profile ever, but that doesn't mean you get to complete the mission. Right. Yeah. Frederick says, no. Frederick says 6th generation for China just means they're still fixing the problems 1 through 5. You mean 1 through 3? 1 through 3.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't hit 4 and 5 yet. That's the problem. That's why when we have a 6th generational fighter, well, you can say that, just like Apple can say, this is the iPhone 26, but that doesn't matter. The question is, what does it do? It's the same old camera. It's 3 years behind the Android. So, 2 bits of information. India. We talked about this last week and predicted this fairly easily. India has a trade deal that is going to be that has been announced, and this is a huge thing for the United States. This will help the economy even more. The stock market has rebounded, and now it's just in that China confirms plans to begin trade negotiations with the United States. So Donald Trump's plan is working. This was a temporary solution. It was never a permanent solution. This was to put people and get them into the trade negotiations, and that's what they're doing. Scotty says, I was only trying to point out the whole wing tip twists with ailerons. That was all. It's a new design. Wasn't saying anything else. Scotty, I'm not saying you're saying anything else. It seems like there's some contention between us. I'm just simply saying okay. I'm glad it's out, and it doesn't mean anything. It's like when Russia was saying that its subs were going to be able to compete with the Seawolf. They couldn't. And it's like Russia and China saying that the MiGs can compete with the F-35. They can't.
No.
So China, I've seen enough from China to know that what they're saying is 6th generational fighter is essentially a cool looking fighter that looks 6th generation and flies like a 3rd generation. That's all. Aileron. Yeah. I couldn't, the way it was spelt. So let me take a look. I'll look it up for you just to, or send it to me. Send it to me via email. China new fighter. See if I can have anything else. What are you taking pictures of, dude?
Being a thorn in somebody's side.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, is this the one? Oh, this is the 6th generation. It's not. Why do they keep saying this shit? It's hilarious. You can make something look cool. Is this the one you're talking about, dude? Because this is the latest one I have. Look at this.
Okay, this is really cool.
No, it's not.
So this is...
That is a mock-up, dude.
Yeah, that's the new 6th generation Chinese fighter jets.
Oh, good luck with that.
Looks like a drone, dude.
So, I mean, it has a lot of...
Look at the wheels. They're like 14 degrees off center. They're like this.
That's a giant piece of crap.
That
Somebody's got to give that thing an
Advanced,
alignment.
look at that. Oh my God.
features, like it can travel extremely fast.
Extremely.
Oh.
Wow. Wow. Extremely fast. That's a designation for first generation. Okay,
It's,
Scotty, I'm cool, dude. I'm sorry. I might be coming off as being a dick. I'm not. This isn't me talking to you. I'm talking to the people who are pushing that this is a 6th generation fighter. That's all. I'm not
Probably
talking
not.
to you. Here is, yeah. I think China is trying really hard to be in the avionics game, and they've got a long way to go. That's all. That's it.
So I'm glad you actually mentioned that. As much as China loves to push their military might, as much as they like to say that they have the newest helicopters or the newest aircraft or, whatever the case is, one of the things that has come out of China, and every American knows this, anybody who's ever bought anything from Tumi or Walmart or Amazon, right? If it's a product that comes out of China, you know that it's probably going to break within a day or two.
Mhm.
Over the last several days, another story that has not been very well publicized, but have been coming out of China, is a series of bridges that have been falling. They have been collapsing in China, not because anybody has hit them like here in the United States, where we have to hit something with a tanker in order for a bridge to fall over. No, these things have just been falling in under their own weight. And why is that? Well, China loves to not spend a whole lot of money on research, or they don't put a lot of money into what it takes to build something properly, right? So there's no regulations involved. So now what you're running into is these stories that are being leaked where people are taking videos of bridges that are just randomly falling in China. So
Yeah. So
So good.
this is the most recent that I mean, and this is literally April 25th. This is what the J36 now looks like, which looks like a complete teardown from what we just saw. And this is, guys, these are prototypes.
Yeah,
These
absolutely.
are literally prototypes. So this is a rendering, by the way. This isn't a real photo. I guarantee it. I will bet you $15 billion that this is a render. Yeah. Okay. So it's tailless. Wonderful. Let me know when you have to
You were
decrease
doing that in
speed.
the 40s.
Yeah, and let me know how that works when you're trying to decrease speed. Let me know how that works in a dogfight. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that I've been watching aerodynamics and aviation since I was this tall, and I know what works and I know what doesn't. And the great thing about Leroy and I, it's not just the fighters and the bombers that are currently in mass production, but we study the Y prototypes too, just as much as we study what's currently working and not working. So I have a deep-seated relationship with this because my grandfather worked on the SR-71 and the U-2, and he worked for Skunk Works and Lockheed and Martin. So I have a long history. I have a piece of the space shuttle that's at my parents' house, well, my mom's house now, that was given to me because my grandfather worked on one of the Challenger designs. And so I take this stuff pretty seriously. We'll be right back. Folks, we've hit goal, I guess. Yes, we did. Curtis, did we say thank you to Curtis? Yes, we did. Folks, we're at 30910. We'll be right back.
Big Tech.
And I want to say thank you to somebody bought some coffee. Looks like we got a Stripe payout from somebody, whoever did that. Thank you. Someone just bought coffee. Who bought coffee? Damn it. Who bought? Well, now I got to go and find out because I'm not going to say. Wish father-in-law was still alive. Matt would love that conversation. I love planes. I would have, if I had the math, I would have been a pilot, but I don't have the math. Leroy, anything else major going on? I think we got most everything tonight that we were going to talk about. It's
No,
9:42.
I think we did pretty good given given some of the challenges that we had in the beginning, and hopefully hopefully we were able to rebound from a lot of that. Obviously, we've had a lot of people who are interested. I'm looking at 260 just on Facebook.
Yeah, it's been
And,
busy. 257
yeah.
all in is where we're at. 257 with, and that's not across all networks. Wimkin and Rumble, we're over 350 tonight. So,
Yeah, it
just
was
let
a
me find
healthy
out.
night.
Deborah McLaughlin ordered, looks like a couple bags of coffee. Let me find out here. Just want to say thank you because the DUM store does appreciate it. We have great shirts, hats, coffee, all that type of stuff. I'm so glad we got the camera solution taken care of
Right.
because that is just so disheartening to work so hard to get it right, and then it finally is. Chuck, welcome, buddy. It was a crazy beginning. Actually, no, it was our good friend Fuck Nguyen. Is it Fook or Fuck? Because it's PHUC, and I believe it's Folk. Fook, Fuck. It doesn't matter. Mr. Nguyen. $68.47. Bought 3 bags of 4547. Dude, you're gonna love that coffee. It is delicious. Leroy, do you want to give us our 1 minute, and I'll see if there's anything else we want to chime in on before we head on out.
Yeah, I would love to. So we had a really good show. Again, given some of the technical difficulties that we had at the beginning, but everyone got to hear my portion of it because I wasn't on for the other night. So we covered the China riots. Look for that. We covered Alcatraz being reopened. That was amazing. The largest fentanyl bust in history. We covered transgenders being that the Supreme Court is telling Trump, yes, your ban on transgenders and the military is supported. So good there. Beyond that, we had a lot of good aviation banter back and forth. It's honestly, the aviation stuff is something I can get behind.
All day long.
All day. Yeah, it is one of those things. I was one of those kids who, when I would build them, I'm going to show some. Hold on 1 second.
All right, you do that.
I do stuff like this, and yeah, if anybody knows what,
Blue Thunder, baby, Blue Thunder. That's gorgeous.
You know, this is how much of a giant dork I am with regard to this kind of thing. I absolutely have loved aircraft my entire life. I was one of those nerds who would build a model and then hang it from the ceiling with fishing line, and yeah, so this kind of thing always gives me far more pleasure than any political conversation we could have. So,
see, it's interesting. I started doing miniatures. You were at my house. You got to see them.
Yeah,
So I started painting those. But man, I love models, and I was thinking about getting back into them because my dad would do a new one and hang it in my bedroom. And from the old Spitfires to the P-51s to the P-38 Lightning to the A4s to the F4 fan. I mean, we had every single plane. So when I got into Intel school and we got to aircraft, I was like, oh,
yeah.
please. I was like,
yeah. They were always stressing how much you had to study for that section. And I was like, don't worry, I got this.
Yeah, I'm just like, can I just take the test now? And I think that's when I finally got, I got top of class in A school. And that's when I got to choose my billet because I was top in class. Cool. And I think there was 2 tests that I nailed. One was geography. You know, the intro level geography test where they basically give you a blank map with all the continents. I got 100% on that. And they said that's the first time ever in Intel training that someone's got 100% on it. And then it was aircraft recognition, I believe. And then you know the one I bombed was mechanized vehicles. So like I sucked at
everyone did.
I sucked at tanks, dude.
That is one of the more challenging.
Yeah.
So for everyone to understand the terminology, what they refer to those classes is order of battle classes, right?
Right.
When you go through that school, there is an electronic order of battle in which you are basically told to memorize what particular radars look like, and then you're going to get a test on it at the end of the week based off of imagery. There's an aircraft order of battle. There's a Navy order of battle, and then there's a ground order of battle. The ground one is what he's talking about, and that's tanks. That's
APCs,
self-propelled artillery, APCs. It's all this kind of thing. And then they also have like engineering equipment, which is like tanks with their own cranes on it and shit. And everyone struggles with that section. Everyone.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And you know, it was just tanks. That was it. It was just tanks because I don't care about tanks. I don't.
Yeah.
Like I was good with APCs. I was good with
I watch
artillery.
Fury. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't give a shit about tanks because if you have an A10, who cares? So
Right.
that pretty much, you know, solves, or an Apache, that solves the problem, and you don't have to worry about tanks anymore. But you know, and it's not like I didn't love the M1 Abrams, but when you're running against T-51s, it's like, dude, you got an Abrams. Forget about it. Like,
Right.
who gives a shit? And that's really, it was kind of like now with planes. If you've got the F-35, you don't need anything else, at least for another decade or two. And maybe
build a
someday.
model. I feel inspired.
I'm going to go do it too, because I broke out my airbrush in order to do the Olivia thing. I don't know if you saw this, but I got some letter, and when it's lit up, it looks cooler. But the Olivia, the old one, I got rid of it. I made this one of wood so it doesn't reflect. And I broke out the airbrush and painted it. And I'm like, God, you know, I miss doing my models and my layering, because you know I took that shit really. But my eyes, I can't do miniatures anymore. So I'm gonna get back to. I think I'm gonna get some planes and start doing, maybe start knocking some stuff out, because I love that shit. I love airbrushing camo and doing stenciling. Oh, I love that shit.
I had a buddy of mine who was so into it that what he would do is, after he had made, say it was an aircraft that had wheels on it, right? What he would do is heat up a butter knife and then put the wheel on it so that it looked like it was under pressure. The tire looked like it was under pressure because it had that flat spot. I mean, that's how detailed you could get with
dude. Yes.
Yeah.
We would do these T1s, and we'd do like the frogs coming out of Vietnam, and we would take or do a Huey, and I would get myself a gauged needle, and I would get it super hot, and I would punch it all the way through the back of the tail, and then I would go ahead and add white, and then from the white I would put drabs of yellow, and then orange, and then red, and I make it hot like lead was going through, and then dissipate so it looked like, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just make the holes, but make them. You could see where the first one went in versus the last, because the last was hotter, and I would gradually change the heat index on each hole. I mean, that's how anal retention. I love that shit. Now, I'm gonna start getting into models. We'll have a model off, dude. We'll be like, all right, here's mine, and we'll start doing.
Well, it would have to be the same kind of aircraft, right? And then we would need an independent judge. Definitely not one of your kids.
Which you know, listen, I'm
kidding.
I think we should listen. How about this? How about we just do, like, they now have sets where like you can make mini M4s and fucking barrettes, and you can make.
You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah,
what we should do, and I'm being serious now. We should each make one and then auction it off.
Oh, dude,
I'll sign it. I'll put it on a wooden placard. I'll mount it, and then we can auction it off.
Okay, now, like, are you braggadocious about your skill set?
No, I know I have skills, but what I'm saying is,
I know what you're saying. I'm asking, are you really good?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go, and this isn't that you can't be better than me. I'm not.
I'm kidding.
You certainly. Listen. You certainly can be. And I'm excited for the challenge, but I want to show you something that I don't think I've shown on this show, or you haven't seen. And now I'm excited because, oh, this is fun. Okay, hold on. See if I can find it.
We should have the dummies go ahead and post. Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
Oh, hold on.
I love on the bow that it looks like it was weathered.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, dude, I got really good.
That's awesome.
Like, that's all custom made skulls too. It's all composite. So
That's cool.
See, I love this shit. So you can see the progression, and then this is graduation day. Let me just get a couple of these, and then we can go. Let's see.
We should have the dummies pick a platform, right? They pick the model, and then we go ahead and build the same one kind of deal.
I love it, dude. So these are just some basics, and then here comes. This is like when I first started.
That's cool.
And these take hours, dude.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You can get lost in that kind of thing, honestly.
Yeah. So these
Cool.
I want to show you that I want to show you the one I really like. Hold on. This is when I started getting into gradients. So like on the shield and
dope.
started
Dude,
getting
look
into
at that sword. That sword has got about 5 different colors on it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
I mean you can see, look at his knees. I mean, all the highlights. I mean, I started putting in highlights for lighting and and then these are my prized possessions right here. These are the ones that I kind of hit a level where I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm done. I've reached Zen.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so like this is when I started doing Hagrid and then I did a larger piece. So I can find this one. Yeah, this stuff is fun, dude. I totally want to. A little Mad Eye Moody, and then this is gradient shading. You can see. So yeah, I started really getting into it, and then this is my final piece, and then I'll leave it at this. Dude, this is insane. Like I'll show you the steps in the process. So first process is an all black, and then second process is to get the greens on, then highlights.
Right. Because it has to be layered.
Right. Oh, dude, wait till you see, then the snake, wait till you see the diamond pattern on the snake. So here's cool. Wait till you see this. Look at his skin. See the diamond pattern on its neck and its head.
Awesome. Yeah.
And finally, that's, anyway, so I started doing these. Oh, I don't know. I started doing them about 4 or 5 years ago, and I kind of stopped. But I really want to get back into it. So now you're getting me excited. This is a Dumbledore one. Look at that.
Oh, that is amazing.
Oh, dude, I love this shit. So we should totally get into this. I'm totally down. You can pick the aircraft, and we'll get into some of this stuff and play around. All right.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Folks, thanks for donating. Thanks for taking care of us. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Here's what we need to do. We need to set up some time so I can. Oh, there's a troll. Where's the troll? Hold on.
We have a troll?
Yeah, hold on. What do I do with the models I become bored with? I put them in a. Well, I'm done now, but. I put them in a case. I've got a case full of collectibles that I do everything. All right, either way, whatever. Listen, everyone, thanks for donating. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's Olivia, myself, and Amy. Amy will be back. She's off vacation, thank God. I appreciate you guys donating, helping us out. And we'll talk about this, man. I got to get you this camera. Yeah. I'm going to send it to you here more than likely, unless I can get the cable fixed. And if that doesn't work, then we're good to go, man. So I'll get you the camera, and then I'll help you set it up and teach you how to use it, okay?
Sounds good, brother.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show.
See you
guys. Next time.
Great show, and we'll see you. We'll see you Thursday.
I'll
see you Thursday.
Bye.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.